Hello and welcome to week 3 of MAA, and today we're going to look at pricing and lifecycle costing, and as always it is hosted by Dr. Martin Roberts. So in terms of where the journey you're going to go on in management accounting applications is that we will start at the income statements, and we're still at the very first part of that income statement. We're looking at sales and how you set prices. Okay. What I will do is that I will talk about economics still, is that I showed very quickly an economics formula on how to calculate selling price, volume and maximum profit. And now what I'm going to show you is a few theories related to that. I'm just going to go very quickly over that because I think we'll cover it in the actual answer that we're going to do this week. And then what we'll also have is I'm going to show you life cycle costing, which will be in this lecture, and then I'm going to show you EMA, which is environmental management accounting. Now this will be a separate lecture because it's important, and then again there will be a separate lecture on throughput accounting, as this also is very important in today's modern world. Okay, so let's continue. And according to economics, there are all those different ways to set prices. Okay, now the good news is they are incredibly straightforward, and they are the titles of something that you could readily describe. So market penetration is when you wish to launch your product in a market, and then there are decisions to make as to how you price your product. Okay, now I'm not going to go through each one here because it takes too long, and it's more about reading about it and understanding. So what I will do is I will show you in part 4 of this lecture series. I'll show you the answers to all of these. That'll help you fill in your handout that you have in Word regarding this set of lectures, and you'll be able to get more of an understanding. I don't want you to learn these topics off by heart or verbatim. What I'm more interested in is that you have a rough idea as to what they're about, because that's all you're going to need. Is you will, when you talk strategy, as you will do when you leave Hallam and you become a graduate and you become part of the senior team eventually after passing your exams, is that you'll have to understand these types of strategies when you enter the market. So they're not really relevant for now, but it's a good thing to have in your background. Okay, what I will talk about though is that I'll talk about life cycle, because that, although it's called costing, it also affects your prices. Okay, and how you set your prices. And again, there is a lecture question that we'll go through, incredibly straightforward, but I just thought I'd throw it in there. Okay, so in essence what you have to understand is that most products, no matter what you buy, so even if you think about your phone that you've got in your hand, or you're looking at this on a laptop, is that most products go through a life cycle like this. So sales, as you can see, is a bit of a curvy line. There you go. Alright, and what happens is sales normally start off very slow, grow very rapidly, and then all of a sudden a maturity phase is that everybody's got one, and suddenly they fall out of popular demand and sales decline. Okay, so you don't really need to know a great deal more about it, but I think it's nice to know that there is a theory behind it, and there's also a costing that you must understand. Okay, so what we do with life cycle costing is pretty much what it says here, is that every stage of that curved line that you saw, that product will accrue costs. I think it's very easy to think about the costs at the start, so the research and the development, the design, the manufacturing, the marketing and the distribution, but there are more costs that you must consider. Okay, and what you've got to do is at the end of their lives, that's what you've really got to also consider, and these get forgotten a lot. So things like disposal of the product if it becomes dangerous or out of date, recycling. There's a lot in these laptops and phones that potentially need to be thought about when you're when the product is finished. You still have responsibility for something you've manufactured. Okay, so therefore you will incur costs. Okay, alright. And so on top of all this is not only do you think about design, the minimizing of the length of the time to get it to market, but you've also got to think about maximizing the length of that life cycle. Okay. So in terms of what you need to understand and tackle your questions is obviously you need thoughts as to the costs at the end, the during and the start of that product. But also the good news is when it comes to costing, it's not particularly difficult. Okay, so what you've got to do is cost of capital, so the original cost, maybe in R&D or whatever it is, okay, plus your lifetime costs, plus your maintenance costs, plus your disposal costs, minus residual value, which is anything you could sell it for. Okay, those are the total costs when you come to cost a product and you come to price a product that you must take into consideration. Okay, and the way that you do that is then, like it says, you divide by the volume, the lifetime volume, to get to the cost per unit and therefore the selling price potentially per unit. Okay, and like I said, we'll go through the example. But just before you go, okay, is that really when you life cycle cost, you think about the product from start to finish. Okay, alright, and then therefore if that's the case, then you must make sure that if you cover all these costs, are your prices that you set all the way through the life of this product, are they enough to cover your lifetime costs? And you'll be surprised as to how readily that is not done. Okay, and this is where life cycle costing tries to come in. Okay, alright, so I'm going to leave it there. There's some more lecture material on throughput and on environmental accounting that all affects your costs and therefore your prices. So please watch those, and then we'll go through the lecture examples.